Hi everyone, so I'm going to do another example on while loops, but it's going to contain not just if and else statements, but also adding a function into it. So this is going to contain many different aspects to just tie in all the different areas that we have created so far, or we've done so far. So let's set this up first. So var proceed is equal to true. Let's do var proceed equals true, and then what we can do after that, so let's just set up the while loop, while proceed, so it's always going to be true. And we're also going to add another variable, var num is equal to 0, we'll start at 0, and then we'll say if, or what we'll do is we'll increment the num plus plus. If you don't know what incrementing is, please watch my other video for that. But what we're going to do is we're going to say if num is equal to, let's say, 3, then let's do num plus equals 4. And then we'll do else if num is equal to, let's say, so if it starts at 0, once it gets to 3, so 3 plus 4, that's 7. So let's say if it gets to 8, then what we'll do is we will call a function. So let's say we call it, so what we can do here is if it gets to the value of 8, what we can say is, let's create a sentence. So var sentence is equal to nothing right now. And what we can do is add a function. So we'll just say we're going to call a function, or let's say it's just called sentence function, like this. And we'll add the function at the top here, and we'll say function sentence function. And we're going to create something in here. So we'll say sentence is equal to the num value is at, let's say, whatever the num value is at right now, and then semicolon at the end. And what we'll do after that is, let's say, another else if. So else if num is equal to 10, then we are going to just change proceed to false, so we can break out of the actual while loop. And as a software developer, you always add an else statement. If you're a web developer, this is pretty much optional, but I'm just going to add this for now. And what I'll do at the end here is I'll do console.log sentence, and then I'll do that. So essentially, so just to explain what is going on here, what's happening is that right here, we're starting with proceed to be true. We're starting at num is 0 and an empty sentence. But what's going to happen? What's going to happen is this function is not called yet, so we'll skip that function, but it'll go to this while loop, and what it's going to do is it's going to say, okay, this is true right now, so let's read what's inside here. So we started at the num value of being 0 right here, and what we want to do is inside the while loop, you see here it's incrementing, so it's incrementing by 1. So when it goes through the first time, number is 1, nothing matches right here in any of these else if statements. The else statement does nothing, so it goes down here, and it notices it's the end, so it goes back up to the top. So this is still true. And then here, num plus plus, what's going to happen is it's going to increase again, and now num is equal to 2, but still nothing matches yet. It's still just going to pass through all this. This is nothing, so it won't do anything. But here it goes to the end, and then it'll start all the way back at the top again. It's still true, but now it increased to the number of 3. And if we go to the first if statement, it says does num equal to 3, and that is true. So if it is true, increment by 4. So now 3 plus 4 is 7. So we'll skip everything else. It doesn't matter what's below, but it'll go to the bottom, and it notices it at the end. So it'll just go back to the top again. It's still true. So since we have 7, we're adding 1. It's 8 now. And what's going to do is it's still going to check here, but since it's false, it'll skip whatever's in here. It'll skip it, and it'll go to the next else if statement. And since num does equal to 8, what's essentially happening is it's going to call this function, what has been set up, and up here, it's going to look for this function, and it's going to be right here, because it's the same name, sentence function, sentence function. So what we're doing is we're changing the sentence, which used to be empty up here, and now what we're doing is we're adding some kind of sentence in that sentence variable, and it's saying the num value is at whatever that num value is at right now, which should be 8 because it stopped at 8. And then once it's done doing that function, it'll skip through all of this, it'll go to the end, and then it'll say, okay, let's go back up to the top. So we're still true, num plus plus is going to be 9, so it's going to skip all of this because nothing equals 9 here. And else statement, there's nothing to do, so it goes to the end, and then it goes back up to the top here. And because it was 9 before and we added one more now, it's going to be at 10. So it's going to check here, this is false, and then it'll check here, this is true, 10 is equal to 10. So go inside this brackets right here, the curly brace brackets, and it'll change proceed to false. So now, since this is false, it'll skip this, and then it'll go down, it'll say, okay, let's go back to the top, but proceed is false, so it won't even check the rest of the loop, and it'll break out of this while loop, and now it's going to console log the sentence that we have defined using the sentence function. So if I actually show you what's going on, I'll clear the screen, and I'll do node test.js. It says here, the num value is at 8. So this is how you work with different types of while loops, functions, if-else statements all together. You can kind of pick up little pieces here and there. And the great thing about functions is that functions is a great way to organize your code. So you can put like one thing to do within one function. So then whenever you need to reuse it, you can reuse it over and over again later if you need to.